Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Calvary Pursuit. I'm so glad to join you today. Today we have a very special podcast for you. This is Jesus Tent Revival, and we are so blessed to have Dr. Braden Anderson join us today. We've got a lot for you. We don't want to miss a minute of the action. So do us a big favor though. Make sure you share this out to everyone, because this is a ministry that reaches a lot of people in a big way. And hey, here in Denton, we're going to have it, but other places are going to have it as well. You don't want to miss out. You don't want your friends to miss out, no matter where they are in the country, okay? So share this out, share this podcast, share this on YouTube, audio, everything you got. But now, let's go ahead and join Dr. Braden Anderson. I'm here with Dr. Braden Anderson today. I'm so excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for letting me hang out.
As everybody can tell, we are in this amazing tent. You can see the background, you see all the chairs. There's so much that goes into this great thing that you do here, Jesus Tent Revival. How long has this been around?
So this would be our 6th year of getting to do tent revivals, although, they certainly weren't happening with the frequency until these last few years. So,
okay.
The first year we did one, next year we did one, and then it just started climbing really quite quickly.
Wow.
To the place that, we did more than 30 this year. And there's another team, Brother Castillo's out there, and he's doing them full time. And so there's quite a few happening.
That's a blessing. That is amazing. I didn't even know that. We're already learning more than I even knew in this brief time. And I want to get our audience to know a little bit more of the start of the Jesus Tent Revival, maybe a little bit of your story, how this came to be.
Sure. Well, ever since I got into church, I was in my first year of college and just absolutely fell in love with God. And immediately following that, the idea that he could do what he did for me for somebody else.
Okay.
And that is the simplicity of my Christianity right there. I am thankful to know God, and I exist to tell everybody else about him. So my wife and I have just kind of always loved any outreach-based ministry. So block parties and hospitals and homeless stuff and jail ministry. Knocking doors, anything we can do. And over the years, our ministries had all these different forms and things we've done. We loved it all. But we were at work, we're bivocational at the time, living in Seattle. And I get a call from a pastor in Kokomo, Indiana. So Pastor Bobby Carter called. And he said, man, I don't really know you. You don't know me. But I've got a question for you. I feel like I'm supposed to do a tent revival. Have you ever done a tent revival? And I laughed and I said, man, nobody in my generation's done a tent revival. What are you talking about? And he said, well, I feel like I'm supposed to do one. And as I was praying over the evangelist directory, I saw your name and I feel like you're supposed to come preach it.
Wow.
And I said, man, you didn't pray about anything, because my last name's Anderson and I know the directory you're talking about. It's in alphabetical order. So my name's at the top of the list. You just didn't want to keep praying.
That's right.
That's what happened. And he laughed. He's like, no, I'm serious, man. I think you're supposed to come do this. And so I said, well, if you're crazy enough to try a tent revival, I'd love to try one with you. And so hopped on an airplane and flew out to Kokomo, Indiana. And there, Pastor Carter had rented a tent. Nobody owned one at the time, right? So he rented a tent, and he rented the chairs, and he rented the sound system. He brought a sound guy in. And so it was like thousands of dollars of investment in this big enigma question of, could this work, and what would happen? It was just a huge question mark for both of us. And we were just amazed at the number of people that came out to that humble tent event that was so unrefined and uncharted for us both, out on a big old field in the middle of Indiana that he had, and a local farmer knocked the grass down for, that we could put the tent up on.
Wow.
It just changed lives, and it did so across demographics, which was so impressive to us. There's young people there and older people there. There's different nationalities, and people just came out to the tent for an experience with God. We fell in love with it immediately. And so from that point on, we kind of just continued leaning in to what God was doing. And that logo and brand that they came up with they encouraged us to take to the rest of the nation. And now at this point, again, this thing has grown to be significantly more than it was. So there's,
Wow.
3 tents in the mix. Just a couple weeks ago, we had all 3 up in simultaneous revivals concurrently, and different evangelist teams and people being reached by the thousands.
That's amazing. The Lord is really working through that. And what's kind of interesting is I had a conversation with a guy that we've had on the podcast, Brother Tom Lyman.
Yes.
And he actually introduced me to Jesus Tent Revival. And a short conversation we had, and it was really interesting to me, and I didn't know anything about it, and hearing about it was really exciting, and the way he explained it. But now experiencing it is a totally different thing than you ever think of, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to be very frank with everyone. When I think of tent revival, I think of maybe 1960 something, and just a little tent, and just a few chairs, and just someone up there preaching. But this is a worship experience. This is so much more than just someone up there preaching hellfire. This is everything involved, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much music, there's people speaking, testimonials, baptism happening simultaneously. Now, as y'all came up with this and as y'all discussed this, did y'all see actually a formula that really worked best with everyone, that really was a blessing to the entire crowd?
Well, we're still learning, so I don't want to speak as though we've arrived, because the truth is, we don't know what we're doing at all.
Okay.
I've never been to a tent revival except our tent revival. So I tell everybody, I might not be doing this right. Don't tell me if I'm doing it wrong. I mean,
I like that.
But we're trying to figure it out as we go, right? So as you go down any road or path of ministry, whether you're teaching Bible studies or you're preaching or you're starting a youth group, doesn't matter what it is, you're just going to find certain things worked well, certain things didn't. I probably shouldn't have phrased it that way. Probably shouldn't have done the altar call that way. Probably shouldn't have picked songs like that.
Yeah.
And as we learn, every church that we work with in the future gets to benefit from the mistakes I made in the past. And we constantly refine. And we get to come into town at this point now and say, well, we have done this for a few years. And while we don't know what perfect would look like, we do know what poor looks like. And these are things we highly recommend you don't do. Don't skip evangelism. Don't skip prayer. Don't skip fasting. Don't skip the online marketing. That brings so many people. And even in the service, these are structure styles that work a little bit different. Baptism, the way that works concurrent to the service, adds a lot of value for multiple reasons, and just these little pointers we can pass on. But I'm always excited to wonder, where are we going to be at another year from now, where I figure out another year's worth of mistakes that I'm making, and where God could take it by then.
Yeah, so true. I mean, and already, like you said, I didn't know idea of 3 simultaneously revivals going on. That's a big deal, right? From where you came from, where everything started. And as you go through this process, like you said, you're learning and you're getting a chance to really kind of gain knowledge as you're sharing knowledge. And that's a blessing. So every stop that you stop and you see a church and you see what's going on in that church, and your goal is to be a blessing and they're being a blessing to you as well. What do you want to leave when you drive out of that parking lot? What do you hope that you left with those people?
Well, so I think the goal is really threefold, and I'll go kind of in opposite priority. So number one, I think we want to reach some people immediately in the short term. So if we were talking about sports, we're trying to put some points on the board.
Okay.
But oddly, that may be the least important thing that happens.
Okay.
And the reason is, if it was just a matter of we want to see 10 people baptized or 100 people baptized, well, we could have done that in the building and just stuck around to preach long enough that we made it to a certain set number.
Yes.
So it's not like a number of conversions that we're after here.
Okay.
It's so much bigger than that. But we do want the church to get to see, have a great breakthrough over the weekend, have the opportunity to see lives change and people added to the kingdom. It's important. That's part of the goal. But that's just the beginning. Let me speak to the other kind of twofold areas I think that we're after. One is God moments.
Okay.
Real, sincere, profound God moments for those people that are coming in under the tent. Again, the goal is not just a quick exchange between them and a baptismal tank or even them and Jesus. It's that they encounter something so real, so tangible, so life-changing that they cannot be the same. And there was a God moment I had, and that God moment totally changed my life. And after you encounter Jesus with such proximity, such nearness, when you've never been that close to him before, you simply can't go back to what you were and where you came from.
Amen.
And we want that life-changing moment, a sincere, powerful, life-changing moment for people that they'll remember for the rest of their lives, where addicts are truly and definitively delivered, where children are changed and marriages are put back together. Those God moments have to be here. And then the last is we want to change the culture of the church. And so, you know, again, it's great, put some points on the board for the weekend. But imagine if we unlock within the church its own capability and power. Like, what if you leave the weekend realizing, I might not have been an altar worker before the weekend, but I am now. I know I can reach somebody. I know I can pray somebody through.
Wow.
Well, that changes the church. And the reason that that's bigger, and I kind of leave it last to talk about, is because if you follow the life of a soul winner, it is so much bigger than any single revival. If we could go baptize 1,000 over the weekend, it actually might not hold a candle to what an unleashed soul winner will do over the course of their life. Wow. So it's always a background goal of ours. Yes, let's get points on the board. Yes, let's see people have a God moment experience with Jesus. But let's unlock the church's potential, that it might see itself what it's capable of. And people would become more passionate about evangelism, about praying with others, sharing the gospel, getting folks baptized. If you had 5, if you have 10 that come out of tent revival determined to not return to what they were, but to live at a new level of apostolic anointing, of witnessing, of praying people through, it's far more significant than anything that happened during this weekend.
I could agree with that. You know, and what I've noticed is as this process has gone on and actually being one-on-one with this process is getting a chance to see the revival work, but like you spoke on, letting everyone get involved and letting people open up and realize that they can be someone that prays for others. They can be someone that actually does other things to help people, whether it's outreach, going out and passing door knockers out, or even using social media. They can use their voice, where so many people hold themselves back, right? So many people say, I'm not that kind of person. I can't do that position, that I'm not good enough. But once they get a chance to see through Jesus Tent Revival and that they can go and do those things in this experience, they find out that they're a much more stronger person in God and in their role in the church. And that's so exciting. Just as we sit here, we have so many different volunteers, people that don't ever volunteer. We have people that don't even know really at times what they're supposed to do. But as they learn it, they learn that they're a leader.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I commend you on that.
Well,
that is so exciting.
You know, I don't know if you've ever tried a new sport, but at some point I was going to go snowboarding for the first time.
Oh, boy.
And I watched all these videos about how to snowboard. And I heard them say things which made sense, sounded easy enough.
Yeah.
And they, in fact, many people would say the same thing. You just need to do, 1, 2, and 3, and you'll be snowboarding. But it's another to put the board on your feet and just lean into it. And all of a sudden, those connections take place between the theoretical and the practical.
Yes.
And all that head knowledge can be applied in the real world. And it then clicks and makes sense. And I feel like there's a lot of people that go to church every week. They hear about impacting other people and about evangelism, about praying for folks. Now, all that head knowledge is in there.
Yeah.
But there's got to be that day that it translates to the practical and it clicks. I can do this. I was made for this. I can be effective in this. People are hungry. God still does miracles. And you get hungry. Man, let's just do this every Sunday.
Yes.
And it definitely changes you. That's, I think, why Paul told Timothy, whoever, was at a junction where his ministry was developing, just go do the work of an evangelist, and it'll make proof of your ministry.
Amen.
Just go do this, and everything else will work out.
Yeah, you're totally right. I just love this, and I love the fact because I was blessed enough to grow up on a church pew. That's just not the luck that everybody has, right? So I have a background, so I don't know from other people's point of view, but I've just noticed in this experience and everything that we are very open to everyone in this, and especially in this environment we're talking about here, under this tent, with these chairs, open air. We've got all these areas around where anybody driving down the street can see us. people over here walking their dog across the yard. They can see us. They can experience what we usually experience within four walls. Now they're getting a chance to see it out in the open, and they're finding out, hey, I'm a little curious. I worked traffic last night, okay? So I worked the parking lot. I can't tell you, brother, how many times we had people just pull up and ask, what's going on? what are y'all doing? We say, oh, we're having service. Pull in. You park right over here. And that is such an amazing thing where, on a Sunday or a Wednesday, they may see a bunch of cars, but they have no idea the experience, right?
Absolutely.
So I just think it's such a blessing. And like I told you before, I thought of myself, tent revival, it seems a little old-fashioned, but it is not old-fashioned. This is a very modern thing. This is something that, you kind of get a chance to see up close, and you're just blessed by being a part of it. So I'm excited about it. I know you and your family have had, to travel. You've had a lot of challenges along the way, but I just got to ask you, despite all the challenges and everything, what are some of the most amazing things that you've seen so far in your ministry?
Literally too many to count. Like, this weekend, if you were to go around with your team and share these stories, it would take you a couple hours to work through the testimonies of the lives that were changed and the God connections between this one and how they heard about the event, what the Lord did, the bodies that were healed and the tremendous addictions, all relevant things. But it just, the scale is unthinkable. What I could say, like I personally have enjoyed and have really stood out, there's been some miracles of great significance that were monumental to get to see right here in America, to see blind eyes open, to see the deaf receive their hearing again, folks that were paralytics in wheelchairs get out of their wheelchair, all significant, monumental moments. But there's also been some really big God rescue stories we saw too. Right now I'm thinking of 3 people this year alone that were in the act of committing suicide. When somebody reached out to them with an invitation, they would come to the tent revival right then and find the hope that they thought was lost, be baptized and receive the Spirit. And, while I'm thankful for all the miracles and the provision, those cool things God will do for humanity, at the end of the day, it is the saving of the soul that He's the most concerned with. And to see God in action rescuing somebody hopeless, somebody lost, that never gets old.
That just gave me chills just to think about that. And then that is such a touching thing, and that is definitely a miracle. Those 3 lives that were saved, just by an invitation, and that's what I really want people to think about when they're asked just to share something on social media, share a door knocker, share. A lot of times we take those things for granted.
I mean, to give you a picture of how basic this is like 2 events ago. Like this just happened. We're coming in to the event. We had the first night. I believe it was the second night, and I mean, you want to talk about a random thought. Some people have trouble realizing, I think, that some of these random thoughts could well be God thoughts. But this person's like, man, I had the most random thought of this person that I sold a car to on Facebook Marketplace months ago. And then the only time they'd ever met them was on Marketplace, selling them a car.
Wow.
I need to reach out to them and invite them to the revival tonight. And so absolutely no elaborate angel from heaven or commanding voice from the clouds, but just a little prick of the conscience that there's somebody out there that you have met that you might be able to impact. And that person had enough curiosity to wonder if they'd come out to tent revival, said, hey, you haven't heard from me for a little while. This might seem random, but we're in the middle of revival, and I'm wondering if you'd come with me tonight. Well, the story on the other side is that person, for whatever reason, had given up hope, and they had already begun drinking. They had loaded their firearm, had it sitting there on their lap. And if that text would have come through even 1 hour later, it would have been too late. But it came through at the right time, and God was in that. And they got out of the room, came to the revival that night, found hope, was baptized in Jesus' name. I mean, these like lives changed in real time by somebody's simple act of a text message invitation.
Oof.
I of course always wonder how many of those I might have missed over the last number of years, but I'm also really excited about all of those I can seize over the next few.
Yes.
Lord, lead me to the right person. Help me use every available tool, whether it's door hangers, social media, whether it's text messages, whether I'm at work and I can get a card out to a waitress to just give hope to that next person.
Yes.
Because one experience with Jesus, one real, authentic God moment, everything changes.
Amen. Hey, you're so true on that. And, thinking about that and thinking about all these people that have been blessed over the weekend, as this whole thing comes to fruition and we do conclude, as we sit here tonight, we're on night 3, we're concluding tonight, and I'm so excited about what we're going to experience tonight and the blessings and the miracles that are going to take place tonight, the baptisms and the whole thing. But once it's over, what I love about this is that it doesn't end here.
Yes.
It doesn't end under this tent. And we have a service, will be next Sunday for us, if anybody's watching the week of. We'll be having a special Sunday service, Jesus Tent Revival Sunday, where we're going to celebrate all the baptisms. People get a chance to share their stories. There's just going to be so much involved. And I love that we don't end it because there's so many events, right? It's like a holiday. When Christmas is over, you're kind of down. You're like, well, I built that up so much. And this is one of those things we don't have to get a let down. There's more. And I love that. I love the fact that we get a chance to share that with people, to share the experience of these new people that don't know anything about God. They get to share God with the people that, were there with them.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. And I know we're going to wrap up here, but I do have to ask you, so as you go through, and you said you're learning every year you learn. What are some big goals that you have and what your team has for Jesus Tent Revival? Do y'all want to go international? Do y'all have if all 50 states hit?
Well, so our goal is scale. And there's different ways to accomplish scale. So we anticipate by this time next year, we'll have a team in Canada, and there'll be a team up there. So we have a guy that's going to train with us, and we already have a trailer for him and everything, and he'll take Jesus Tent Revival to Canada. But even in the United States, there's a big demand. We can't go all the places that we're invited to go presently. So we're looking forward to adding additional teams here. I think by this time next year, we would land at about 4 full-time teams. But there's got to come a day that there's 10 and 15 and on from there. The difficulty with that is it is an astronomical amount of upfront overhead. Now, when we come into a city, because everything is owned, the event has no overhead, but that's because somebody paid that price on the way in. So, every tent costs tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes, sir.
And there's, we're traveling right now with 1,000 chairs. That's a big deal. We travel with stage, travel with sound system, baptistry tanks, floodlights, extension cords, heaters, pumps, backdrops. I mean, there's just so many things that go into it, along with however many tires I'm going to blow out that year, how many axles I'm going to break. And so there's all these ongoing expenses. So what we're constantly doing, and our team's goal is just to see the mission move forward. Every time we can get ahead a little bit, it's great news for us because that means we can order 20 more chairs and then 40 more chairs and then finally have enough to buy that next tent for the next guy. And it's really exciting because whenever this is done, we get all these tools together, we can have revival in a box hooked to an evangelist's hitch. And when he pulls into a city, he doesn't have to charge a thing to have revival, just like we did here today. The tent goes up. We charge nobody anything. We take up no offerings. It's just no strings attached. We want this city to experience Jesus. And so our goal is, and what we've been saving towards, is seeing this happen and multiply across the nation. I think it's going to be really exciting to see.
Man, that is so exciting. And I think we're going to wrap up with this. I'll ask you one last question. We've talked about the miracles. We've talked about all the blessings that have taken place. But I want to know, for your personal life, for your family, what has this whole experience rewarded you and your family?
Well, everybody is wired a little bit differently. And I guess what I would say for us is this was a calling, is the calling of a lifetime for us. And so we were wired to do this, having not known it.
Yeah.
And so, in as much as we loved evangelism and outreach, there was always something kind of missing. And you could never quite knock enough doors. You could never quite teach enough Bible studies to see what you felt like you were called to see. And it really wasn't until we did this that, you know, my wife and I and our family just have felt so fulfilled. It's the accumulation of everything we've experienced, everything we've learned in marketing, in evangelism, in altar working, all at once. We get to see monumental breakthroughs, and we get to see them week after week after week. And we just love it so much. We couldn't be happier. Even our kids, every now and then, I'll kind of mess with them, and I'll just pulse check where they're at, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll say, well, you know, we're coming up to the end of tent revival season. Next year, do you want to have church in the building, or do you guys want to have tent revival? And they're like, tent revival, please. We all just love it so much, you know. It's so much fun. We get to be at church with churches while they're at their best too. You know, they're fully engaged, and everybody is praying and having fun, and other kids are running around the grass. It's just a great time. And you know, we may get to be a part of your greatest revival of the year here, but then next week we're at their greatest revival of the year and their greatest. So we get to live in a constant vein of revival, smiling faces, baptisms, miracles, and we just couldn't be happier. It's a great blessing.
That is awesome. That's a great, you have a wonderful testimony. We didn't really dive into that about, you know, everything that you have sacrificed, but I know we'll eventually get to that. Brother Tom Lyman did kind of fill us in a little bit, so we won't focus on that. But I just want to say thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you for, you know, being able to be here. We really appreciate that. And I want to say thank you, and we're excited to, you know, hopefully, and then, you know, future to come. I know far and few between, but we want to have tent revival again, I know, pretty soon.
Come on, man.
So we're so excited. So thank you, everyone, for joining us here. We really appreciate you. Thank you for Dr. Braden Anderson. And, of course, thank you all for joining us. And until next time here at Calvary Pursuit, make sure you do us a big favor. Make sure you're loving somebody, because you just never know who might need a new beginning.